Welcome back. You're watching live from Paris on France 24. It's time now to find out what's making the buzz in the French press and on the internet. James Creedon is here for tonight's Media Watch. Hi there, James.
Good evening.
Now, there's just one story everyone's talking about today. And last night, Dominique Strauss-Kahn gave his first interview since he was arrested in New York earlier this summer.
That's right. It's been the big story, the big talk for about 24 hours. Now, it was around 24 hours ago that he was on live air talking about what has been happening for the last 4 or 5 months. And if we take a look at some of the pictures, I think one of the first thing that a lot of the media were commenting on was how prepped he looked, and indeed how staged a lot of the interview appeared. And in the beginning, basically, there were these long, pregnant pauses where he spoke about how scared he was, with the US justice system. Let's have a listen if we can put up some of the sound.
Comment vous dire? J'ai eu peur.
So you can see a big, long, pregnant pause, basically, which many people are saying was intentional. And here he's talking about the economy. This is later on in the interview, and he appears a lot more animated. Indeed, it's like the old Dominique Strauss-Kahn. So basically, the media did not seem at all convinced by that was something authentic or sincere. They said this was very much intentional. Dominique Strauss-Kahn was trying to appear contrite and very kind of low-key, and contrasting that later on in the interview with a kind of a passionate speech about the global economy.
And did he make any apology of any sort during the interview?
He didn't outrightly apologise to the French people, as many had called for. Even Arnaud Montebourg, who is one of the candidates in the Socialist Party primary, had said, we want to see an apology from Dominique Strauss-Kahn to the Socialist Party and perhaps even to the French people. That didn't really happen, even though he said he regretted what has happened. And he also said that what had happened was a moral error. So certainly there was an element of contrition, but he didn't go so far as to apologise outwardly to the party or the public.
And another source of criticism is, of course, the woman that was interviewing Strauss-Kahn, Claire Chazal, very well-known news anchor here in France. She's actually a good friend of Strauss-Kahn and his wife.
This is really where a lot of the criticism came through, indeed. And if we have some pictures of that interview as it was taking place, and even at one point, so not just Claire Chazal, but you can see here L'Avenir, which means the future, was one of the graphics used in the background. And it's almost a presidential-looking couple, Strauss-Kahn and his wife. So TF1 generally has come under a lot of criticism for the way in which this was conducted. And the fact that Claire Chazal is a good friend of Dominique Strauss-Kahn's wife obviously doesn't, give you a sense that this was a very independently conducted interview. Indeed, there were tweets online, one which said, "Dearest Claire, best of luck for tonight. Looking forward to lunch on Tuesday with kisses." And so that was just somebody tongue-in-cheek saying that this really was not a very independent interview. Elsewhere, there were others who were saying that the French electorate were treated to a well-rehearsed, well-orchestrated piece of political theatre last night with anchorwoman Claire Chazal, no doubt chosen for her polite interviewing style. That was a blog on celebrities, a celebrity blog basically, which came out with that. And other well-known French journalists such as Alain Duhamel also said, this is ridiculous, that Claire Chazal, a good friend of his wife, conducted the interview.
OK, all right. Now, Strauss-Kahn's legal troubles haven't gone away, have they? Even though the criminal charges against him in New York have been dropped. Here in France, another woman is alleging that she, too, was attacked by Dominique Strauss-Kahn. And she spoke on television just earlier this evening.
Just about an hour ago, in fact. Her name is Tristan Banon, and amongst the things she said, Dominique Strauss-Kahn said that he had lost his légèreté, or his kind of carefree approach to women. This was one of the big statements that he came out with last night. She said, "I lost my carefree approach on the 11th of February 2003. That was one thing that she said. So she's insinuating, I suppose, that what allegedly happened between herself and Dominique Strauss-Kahn was devastating. But let's take a listen to perhaps the most pertinent quote from this evening's interview.
It's just not right that you give somebody 20 minutes on the main evening news like he's some kind of a rock star, to someone who, yep, he isn't yet guilty, but who is implicated in 2 cases in 2 different countries.
So she was basically very critical of Dominique Strauss-Kahn just being given free reign on the main evening news show for 20 minutes.
It was a long interview, wasn't it? A 20-minute interview, prime time, Sunday night. 14 million people watched it.
Right, and this, as he is still involved in 2 cases in 2 different countries, as Tristan Banon said. So she was outraged by that.
All right, now, there has, as you say, been a lot of... this has been dissected in the press all over the place today, hasn't it? And there's also been a lot of talk about how this affects the Socialist Party in the run-up to the elections, because Strauss-Kahn is, of course, a socialist.
That's right, and indeed Martine Aubry, she was the former leader of the party, and it had been said that there was a pact, an electoral pact between Dominique Strauss-Kahn and herself. If he was to go forward, she would not, and vice versa. Now, she has always denied the reality of this. Dominique Strauss-Kahn last night said that that pact did exist, and he said that she was very, I suppose, present during the entire crisis for him. Martine Aubry had herself tried to put distance between herself and Dominique Strauss-Kahn, so this, many would see it as the kiss of death to Martine Aubry. It's some sort of a stabbing of her in the back. So political intrigue still continuing in the Socialist Party.
The fallout continues.
Yes.
James Creedon with
Laura.
Media Watch, thank you very much indeed. Up next, we've got all the top buzz on the internet for you. It's time for Web News.